Turning now to campaign 2018 local matters, we're taking a look at Michigan, where the primaries will be held on August 7th. Their governor, Rick Snyder, has term limited out of office and will not be running for re-election. Earlier, I spoke with Detroit Free Press political reporter Kathy Gray about the governor's race.
Well, we've got 3 Democrats and 4 Republicans. We've got Abdul El-Sayed, a Democrat. He used to be the health department director in Detroit. We've got Gretchen Whitmer, who's the former Senate Minority Leader for the Democrats, and Sri Tanadar, who is a retired businessman who lives near Ann Arbor. On the Republican side, we've got Attorney General Bill Schuette, Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley, State Senator Patrick Colbeck, and a doctor from Saginaw. His name is Jim Hines.
Well, let's talk more about 33-year-old Abdul El-Sayed on the Democratic side. He's a Detroit Health Department director running for the Democratic nomination, as you mentioned. What more can you tell us about him?
Well, he's 33 years old, so he's very young. He's very energetic. He is the most progressive candidate in the race. He's gotten the support from Bernie Sanders. He's gotten the support from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York, who just won that congressional race there. She was in this past weekend to rally for him, and they had big crowds everywhere they went.
Yeah, and how has he capitalized on that recent win of young Democratic candidates such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
Well, he's definitely courting the more liberal side of the party, and he's got progressives backing him pretty universally. So he this visit over the weekend really kind of raised the enthusiasm for his candidacy. But he has been running third in all the polls that have been out there, and he has raised the least amount of money of the Democrats in the race.
So that raises the question then, who are the front runners in each party in the gubernatorial race?
On the Democratic side, Gretchen Whitmer has been the front runner for the Democrats, and on the Republican side, Attorney General Bill Schuette has been the leader in the polls on that one, and he's like 20 points ahead of the candidates who are next up. Brian Calley is number 2, followed by Patrick Colbeck and Jim Hines. Sri Tanadar has actually been doing fairly well in the polls. He is running second in them, and he is a millionaire who has pumped in more than $10 million into his campaign. So he has blanketed the airwaves with television. He's boosted his name ID, and so he certainly can't be written off in this. He's running second, but he's been getting a lot of support from folks in Detroit.
Well, in 2010, there was a shift in Michigan toward the Republican Party, and the state voted for President Trump in the 2016 election. Do Democrats think that could change the upcoming congressional race?
They're certainly hoping so. They're, between the enthusiasm on the Democratic side, the Me Too movement, which has attracted a lot of women to be running for office in Michigan, and the presidency of Donald Trump has Democrats hoping that they'll be able to flip perhaps as many as 2 or 3 congressional seats. And Republicans also hold power in both the state house and the state senate, and Democrats are hoping to eat into that a little bit too. I just got some numbers from the Secretary of State's office on absentee ballots, and the number of absentee ballots that have been requested is up by more than 200,000 ballots in over 2014, and more than 100,000 of those have been increased from that 2014 that have been returned already too. So it looks like turnout is going to be better this year, and that usually helps Democrats.
Well, who are the other candidates challenging Democratic Senator Debbie Stabenow in the race for U.S. Senate?
She is unopposed in the Democratic primary, but she has 2 Republicans who are running against her, Sandy Pensler, who is a businessman from Grosse Pointe, and John James, who is a military veteran and a businessman from Farmington Hills. Those are both suburbs of Detroit. And John James just got a boost last week. He got the endorsement of President Trump. he tweeted out that, you know, he had the full, he had his full endorsement. And so that was a big win for John James. Sandy Pensler is more of the establishment Republican candidate, and he has been pumping a lot of his own money into the race as well.
Be interesting to see if that endorsement from the president actually works as a political strategy to give that candidate a boost. Kathy Gray, thanks very much for your insight, Kathy. Appreciate it.
Sure. My pleasure.